Hi, I'm Bavarsi, and my topic is child labor. So, let's start off. In the terms, child labor is often defined as work that deprives children and their childhood potentials and dignity that is harmful and to physical and mentally developed. It refers that it's mentally, physically, socially, and morally dangerous to harm children and refers to their schooling by depriving them from their opportunity to attend schools, obliging them to leave school permanently, and require them to attempt combined school-heavy attendance, which is excessively long and heavy work. Whether or not a particular work form can be called child labor depends on the children's age and the type of hours work performed and the conditions under and is which performed the objectives pursued by individual countries. The answer varies from countries to country as well as among sectors with countries. What's the worst form of child labor? The worst form of child labor is enslaved and separated from their families, exposed to serious hazard and illnesses, left to fend for themselves on the streets with large cities, often at a very young age. All types of slavery or activities that resemble slavery, including the buying and selling children, debt bonds, and force for mandatory labor, which includes forced to mandatory recruitment of children for use in armed conflict. Uses of accusations and provision of kid prostitution and creating porn or performing porn. The use of accusation and the perform of kids' legal operations partially for drug manufacturers trafficking and specified by the pre-attendant international treaties. Works like this that impair children's health, safety, and morality due to the nature of conditions under which carried out. Next is, when did child labor start? Between the ages of 5 to 11, there were about half of all child laborers. The estimated 4.3 million minors engaged with forced labor, including slavery, commercial sex, exploitation, and debt bondage. Children who were not enrolled in school, who had additional opportunities for paid employment through the middle school of the 19th century as a result of industrialization and urbanization. The percent of people living in the cities increased from about 17% to confrontational in 1867 and more of 1/3 by 1901 and nearly half of 1921. Where was children most risk for being forced into labor and why? Children in the risk of being forced into labor everywhere around the globe, but risk high areas with high rates of poverty, limited access to education, lack of enforcement of labor laws. Many families underdeveloped nations where poverty is pervasive must depend on revenue of their children that generate to make ends meet. Children may occasionally be forced into labor or dangerous, abusive environments such as mines, factories, and farms due to displacement of lack access to basic. Children live in post-conflict zones such as refugee camps. Regions hit by natural disasters are also at the significant risk of being concurred into labor. The likelihood of child labor is greater when there are fewer educational possibilities, economic opportunities, and child protection laws. In order to stop child labor, efforts must be made addressed to underlying causes of it, such as poverty, illiteracy, and cultural views. Why do some governments struggle to enforce laws and regulations relating to child labor? Due to the number of issues, including inadequate institutional capacities, corruptions, lack of political wills, and cultural attitudes supports the child work. Certain governments may find it difficult to implement child labor laws and regulations when it comes to receiving payments from companies who utilize child labor or disregard objections from concerned individual government authorities and often conflict in child labor. Additions compared to more urgent issues like poverty, unemployment, child labor may be perceived as low priority problems.